The vast majority of students in this country go to public school. Many people think of it as having everything: friends, cafeterias, class periods, homework. It's a way of life for students as well as parents. But have you ever considered the downsides of public school? How about having to drag yourself out of bed much earlier than you want? Worrying about getting your homework done on time, bullies, nasty classmates, the hassles of getting a sick day, horrible cafeteria food, and the possibilities of being overwhelmed in class by unhelpful teachers.
These downsides are pretty much universal in the public school scene. So, what's the solution? How can we educate our kids without having them be subjected to these trials and tribulations? Wouldn't it be much nicer if you could choose when to wake up, move at your own pace in classes? Well, that's exactly what homeschooling is. Whether they admit it or not, this board probably brings certain images to many people's minds. However, these stereotypes are usually brought about due to the general lack of knowledge of how homeschooling works. Homeschool actually doesn't look at all like what was just portrayed. Here's what a typical day in a homeschooler's life looks like.
Unfortunately, despite, or perhaps because of, the cozy picture depicted above, homeschoolers are often assumed to be socially awkward. This is the most common objection brought up against homeschooling, so we're going to examine it in depth. Is this how homeschoolers socialize?
I went to public school.
And homeschooled.
You were homeschooled?
I think, yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Actually, most homeschoolers are great communicators. Part of the reason for this is that homeschoolers have access to a wide variety of social opportunities. Many homeschoolers attend the weekly or monthly homeschool meetings/group studies.
In fact, in many cases, homeschoolers are actually more social. We interviewed Professor Mary Wood, speech teacher here at CUD with 36 years of experience in education, and asked her a few questions about homeschoolers. Mrs. Wood stated, "The homeschoolers I had were more sociable than some of their peers. They were more interested in getting to know their peers, more comfortable in groups, and most seemed to enjoy the interactions. They were comfortable talking about themselves more so than their peers." Mrs. Wood also stated, "The homeschool students I've had are highly focused AB students. A couple of my homeschooled students were shy at first, but so were the public schooled ones."
From my personal experience as a public school student, I actually find it more difficult to socialize with people, especially in groups. Now, this makes for a good comparison because my colleague David, who was homeschooled, is able to hold conversations for long periods of time. But he's homeschooled, so he shouldn't be able to do that, right? In fact, during this very same project, when trying to pitch my own idea, I struggled to share my ideas with the rest of my peers. This occurred despite all the classes that I took that would give me the opportunities to strengthen my socializing skills. Yet, when it came to David's turn, there was hardly any struggle at all when he shared his ideas. What we are trying to get at here is that anyone can be either very social or asocial, whether you are homeschooled or not. Both sides share both kind of people.
Earlier, we discussed the specifics of why public school is lacking and why homeschool offers remedies to these problems. There are several more main advantages to homeschooling. Homeschool allows parents to teach their children religion, something public school doesn't allow. Another typical reason families choose homeschooling is because they view the public school system as academically lacking. Taking a look at national ACT scores, it's clear that students are struggling today, but take a look at how homeschoolers measure up to the public schooled students. In terms of academics, homeschooled students are often more capable than their public schooled counterparts.
Another reason families homeschool is because it's cheap. Only the books on the syllabus must be purchased. Homeschooled families simply reuse their books to educate each child. Also, homeschoolers' lunches are much cheaper, being home cooked and all, and there is no transportation cost whatsoever.
We have illuminated homeschooling a bit and tried to show what homeschool is actually all about. We showed that some common misconceptions of homeschoolers, such as their supposed anti-sociability, are false stereotypes. We've also presented a few reasons why homeschooling is a good idea. All of this is not to say that homeschooling is the right choice for everyone. It's a decision every family has to make for themselves. The question before you now is, will you homeschool your children? Will you look into it more?